I think the forest is a great place to begin talking about energy because it is where all energy is effectively derived. It's much like food supply. We don't think much about where the food comes from. We don't want to. We don't want to think about the cow. We just want to think about the burger, right? Energy's the same way, really. We don't want to think about the dams. We don't want to think about most of the other stuff, except for maybe the sustainable energy. We just want to think about the electricity in our sockets in our walls. We want to think about the TV coming on when we press the remote button. That's all we really want to think about when it comes to energy. So it's worth a little bit of a dive into the subject, I think, so we can really understand what I'm talking about when it comes to energy, not what the power company is talking about. Hamburgers cooking. Advanced particle physics has shown that energy is vibration and frequency. Everything flows from frequency and vibration. This is science. This is particle physics. This is cymatics, the effects of vibration and frequency on the biological form, which is in turn the foundation of sound healing. There's natural energy we find in forests and other wild places, the well springs of energy that allows the world to function, including the human world. Beautiful places make the world go round. The differences between artificial and natural energy environments are very noticeable once you pay attention. Coming out of the natural and into the man-made. It's not a shocking transition, but suddenly all of the processed energy becomes very evident. It's a necessity, but it's not necessarily real. Is it? Any more than we want it to be? Water carries multiple forms of energy. It can conduct. It can carry enormous amounts of kinetic energy as it flows downslope to the sea. And the waves of the ocean are some of the most powerful phenomena on the planet. Anyway, we don't need to belabor that subject. I think you all understand where I'm coming from. Now let's move on to source. What am I talking about? What is source? It's a big question, but it has pretty simple answers, fortunately. Nothing too complicated. No dogma. Just plain truth. That's what source is. So I think source can be best viewed as the natural source of energy and frequency and connection between all living things and perhaps many inanimate objects as well. That's my belief, and I have many good reasons to think that. I'll talk a little bit more about that in this video ahead. But yes, source can be thought of as a sort of mycorrhizal forest network that connects all the fungi growing in the forest and the trees and the plants and the vertebrates as well, the creatures, so and human beings. And source even feeds into our synthetic energy, although we have filtered and processed that to the point where it is mostly pragmatic and functional. To really feel the source, you need to go back to nature. There's no other way. And beyond that, it's a personal journey getting there. There's no one answer. Many teachers with many explanations offered. There is a correct one out there that will work for you and will bring it all into focus. The important thing is to bring it all into focus, to not be stuck eating the hamburgers of reality, to get behind the meat, so to speak, to get behind the energy. Where's that coming from? How does that electricity light my home? The further you go upstream, the more you realize it's all nature, all of it. So when you go to nature, you're visiting source. It's hard to explain beyond that because it's a very personal experience. So I will leave it at that because I don't want to trammel or otherwise contaminate your experience with source, because that matters very, very much. The personal matters. I'm happy to say, I think you'll know what I mean eventually. So I imagine the more pragmatic folks are ready for me to take these various points I've made and draw some conclusions with them, which is understandable. Thanks for your patience. I'm going to get to the nitty-gritty right now, and I think you'll find it very interesting. Weapon artifacts. This is not done from a standpoint of negativity about the human condition. It's really more an acknowledgement of the human condition and the fact that humans fight. Wars are part of our history and our present and our future, and that is not going to change. What sort of energy finds itself stored in weapons? Well, obviously, there can be some pretty negative energy stored in weapons. However, weapons are also used to fight for worthy causes. There's valor energy, V-A-L-O-R, energy stored in weapons. There's protection energy. There's administrative energy in the sense of beneficial control of society for the benefit of citizens. Again, I know this sounds a little flaky, but as we move forward here, I think you'll understand what I'm saying, and it's really critical to understanding what I mean about energy in inanimate objects. Let's start with these two beautiful pieces. These are Viking armaments. The top one is a Viking combat knife from Scandinavian culture So this was from the raider stage of Viking culture. And boy, you can tell this thing is brutal. Everything about it, the energy in it is just brutal. It's heavy. This is meant for going out on the battlefield and going berserk. Serious stuff. Beautiful patina on here, by the way. We'll talk about patina in another video. Hardcore battle weapon there. This, in contrast, is another Viking piece, but oh so graceful and delicate by comparison. This is from Kievan Rus, a Viking kingdom that was established in the modern Ukraine region at the, one would say, maybe the climax of Viking civilization. During this time, the Vikings controlled the population. They were benevolent rulers. It was actually a blossoming cultural period for both Viking culture and Ukrainian people. It was a good time, you could say. So what we have here is an axe probably used by a Viking administrative person, a commissar maybe, or I don't know, maybe there's a less loaded word for that. Someone who's not out there threatening people, but is wielding control. So this was probably on a small hand axe that hung from the belt. And at that time, thousands of years ago, this was enough of a threat to keep people in line. They probably weren't gonna mess with you when you were out walking around doing your duties. But no real soldier would ever consider taking this into real combat. That would never last a minute, and it doesn't do anywhere near enough damage to protect the bearer in the middle of gruesome armed combat, unlike this piece, which is designed for that. When somebody charges at you with that, chances are pretty good you're going to turn and run. If somebody charges at you with that, you might stay and fight, but probably not. So, Viking examples, two very different kinds of energy. One, a benevolent, administrative, artistic, graceful energy from the Kievan Rus era, and another from the earlier raider, burn the ships on the shoreline Viking era. Ooh, baby. I selected this artifact specifically for its energy potential. I sensed the energy of this piece in the photo I saw online, and I was not mistaken. This is loaded with energy. I suspect it has quite a bit of ritual history. It is Olmec, O-L-M-E-C, pre-Columbian, pre-Aztec, pre-Incan. And Olmecs are very mysterious culture. One of the few things that's really well understood about Olmec culture was the idea of jaguar transformation. Apparently, they were animistic to some degree, and they believed that humans, in certain circumstances, could transform into jaguars. Not necessarily in a magical or supernatural way, but more in a personal evolutionary way. It's not well understood, but figurines like this are really some of the few things left to try to understand what Olmec jaguar transformation was all about. Obviously, this character is young, in the throes of agony, changing. The facial features are classic jaguar transformation from the Olmec culture. And the writhing body, splayed limbs also. It's interesting. This thing has so much energy. It's really hard to find a position to put it in. It doesn't want to stay anywhere. It's like it's in pain. But it's also transforming. It speaks to the illusion of painless transformation. Every real transformation comes with pain. It's inevitable. And the Olmecs clearly understood this. I do not know where this is, exactly what circumstance it was retrieved or recovered, but everything tells me it has a powerful past. I'm going to wrap up our chat today on energy and source with a quick discussion of two energetic rocks. Below we have moldavite with its very distinctive and characteristic texture. Above we have an enormous tektite, perhaps the largest one I've ever seen. Two different natural specimens with two different energies and frequencies. Tektites are renowned for being grounding and stabilizing. And indeed, this one is a beautiful, beautiful tektite recovered from the border between Thailand and Laos. Purchased from a Loatian immigrant. Oftentimes, immigrants will use rock specimens and artifacts to generate money for themselves as they travel. This is the most grounding piece that I have. It is absolutely wonderful. It's even better than my Greenland Numite, which is renowned for its grounding. I believe it is a Bolivian plateau tektite, which would make it very rare, which would also explain its enormous size. Bolaven, supposedly a beautiful area of Laos, was the ground zero of an enormous meteorite strike. The particular mineralogy of the rock there created unusual tektites. It's a beautiful 15 plus gram sample of moldavite. Premium specimens of moldavite have lovely textures. These are individuals. Different regions of Czechia have different textures of moldavite that vary mostly due to soil chemistry that tends to erode the buried moldavite in different ways. Moldavite collectors treat these regions as wine collectors would treat vineyards and grape regions. Wow, it feels like we covered a lot of ground today, but there is so much more to talk about. This is just the beginning. Hopefully my explanations made some sense, rang true, resonated. It's an interesting world, one that should be approached carefully, but with an open mind. There are a lot of benefits to be derived from the energetic world, the natural energetic world of Source. So, thanks again. I'm going to spend some time with my grounding tektite now, my Bolivian plateau tektite, and think about what my next video will be about. Feel free to post a comment if you're interested in something you think I might be able to talk about. Give me a like if you're liking, of course. Subscribe if you're liking even more. I'm going to be doing a lot more videos. Should be really interesting. If you're captivated now, please stay on board. Until we talk again, take good care of yourself, and may peace be with you every step of your way. Yummy hamburgers.